I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank the gentleman. We now recognize the gentleman from Kentucky, Mr. Yarmuth, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also would like to commend you on this hearing and your opening remarks, and the ranking member as well. This is, I think, a very constructive hearing. I want to express my outrage at the subject under investigation, not just for myself, but on behalf of the 13,000 current and retired federal employees in my district, because as Mr. Chaffetz said, we have many, many very responsible public employees, federal employees, who I know are embarrassed by association because of these instances. I have a question about this whole idea of conferences and to the extent to which this practice may be common, not just in GSA, but across government. Are there other, we already said this is not something that is held in every region, this type of conference, but do you have any idea of the number of conferences, kind of internal conferences that are held throughout the GSA organization? Ms. Johnson or Mr. Robertson?
I don't have a good sense of the numbers. The numbers of conferences that I attended over my tenure I can talk about. They included about 5 internal conferences over 26 months.
Over 26 months. That's a fairly frequent number. Are there guidelines within GSA for conducting conferences? I mean, it's kind of ironic, I think, that you have the agency that's responsible for facilities, and at least in this particular case, you had to go to a private facility outside of. I know that's an example, Mr. Chairman, of government spending. I guess stimulating the economy, but probably not in the right way if you have federal facilities that might house these.
Yes, there are various policies and rules. Per diem, for example, how much people can spend when they travel, what they can be reimbursed for. Yes, there are.
Would there be, for instance, any rules regarding the things that went on here, like, for instance, the hiring of a mind reader, entertainment, bling, as we call it, these souvenirs? Are there any guidelines for those types of acquisitions?
I am not familiar with direct guidelines around mind readers and commemorative coins. I am aware that our senior executives should be operating under the common sense of no waste and would be preserving their budgets for other things.
Mr. Miller, you've been involved in government and for quite a long time. Are there rules in other agencies that you may be familiar with that are more specific as to the conduct of internal or events?
Well, I think the rules governing GSA and GSA policy says that they are to plan conferences with an eye to minimizing costs, and that's from the GSA policy. So in terms of minimizing costs, things like commemorative coins would be impermissible. We do have a discussion of rules within the final report. When it comes down to mind readers, or I think he billed himself as a motivational speaker, in terms of the report, we stayed away from the quality of any quality judgments on the type of training because we're not the experts in public building service. But the rules do allow motivational speaker. Now, if he was mind reading or entertainment, that would not be permitted.
And so, in terms of both the activities and the ancillary materials that were provided in here, there were, in your estimation, Mr. Miller, violations of agency rules.
Yes, and we've outlined them in our report.
And also in terms of the procurement rules.
Yes, sir.
Regarding the acquisitions.
Congressman,
yes,
they gave a bid of one bidder to another bidder, and that is about as much against the rules as you can come up with.
Now, a question, because obviously the GSA is involved in a lot of contracting throughout the country. Does your office, does the GSA have sufficient auditing capabilities to deal with not just the auditing of a conference that the agency conducted for itself, but for the many other activities that it's involved in, its primary responsibilities.
We do all the auditing at GSA. We do not rely on DCAA except for a very exceptional circumstance. Office has about 300 employees. We have 70 special agents who would actually interview individuals, and I think they've done a tremendous job with this report, and I think they moved at tremendous speed, often working 18-hour days and weekends, and I do commend the special agents and the forensic auditors that we have.
I thank the gentleman. We now go to the gentleman from Pennsylvania, Mr. Kelly, for 5 minutes.